ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Today I want to speak about a very peculiar subject. You'll be surprised to see why I have selected this subject. I'm going to speak on tears and Ramakrishna. There was one article called Water. And what did it state in the first paragraph of that? Grandfather saw it, that is water, in the rivers. What about father? Father saw it in the borehole or the well. Then we, the present generation, are seeing water in the tap. Your children, the next generation, are seeing it in the bottle. Where will your grandchildren see it? Maybe in the capsules. If we neglect environment, then you may have to see water in your tears only. So, what is this tears which we shed in plenty, but we do not know anything about it? So I will take you through so many stories about this tears. You know, why does only our eyes shed tear? Why should not our ears shed tear? Why should not our nose shed tears? Why should not our mouth or hand shed tears? Why only eyes? So let us note the reason. Eyes of a person saw ripened sweet mangoes on the tree. So the person got desire to eat it. Now eyes cannot pluck the mangoes. So the legs ran towards the tree and climbed the tree also. Now legs cannot pluck the mangoes. So hands got it. But can the hands and the legs eat the mango? No. So the mouth ate the fruit. Now the fruit won't get digested in the mouth. The digestion process and the assimilation is in the stomach. Now while this process is going on, the owner of the mango tree saw this fellow stealing the mango. He came with a big danda, danda, and hit the back of that person who was eating the mango on the tree. So that was very painful to the back. Now, what is the process here? The eyes saw, the mind desired, now the back got the danda, pain. So now the back started complaining. Why should I get the punishment? I didn't eat any of the thing, the mango, but I am getting the punishment. How is it? This is not justice. So the back asked that owner, why did you hit me? I did not eat the fruit. But did you notice where the tears came from? From the back, is it? The pain was felt in the eyes. Why? Because it was the eyes which saw the fruit and got the desire to eat the fruit. So our karma always gives the fruit at the right address, time and place. So now you can see why tears get into the eyes only. Now you should know about these tears. Why did I take this subject? I went through the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna many times, and I found the word tears appearing in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Do you know how many times? 165 times. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, this word tears appears 165 times. Weeping and crying maybe some more, many more times. But just the word tears appear in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna 165 times. Then what is this tears? It contains sugar, protein, salt, antibiotic, and antimicrobial properties. The chemical combination of the tear is protein, sugar, salt, antibiotic, antimicrobial. And that's why sometimes, see, when you cry, too much crying, the tear escapes to the nose and also to the mouth from within the passage. You will feel the saltish tinge of the tears. Why? It has more salt in it. So now, Ramakrishna tells there are two types of tears. Have you noticed that sometimes tears come from this edge of the eyes? And sometimes the tears flow from the outer edge of the eyes. So there are two types of crying, tears. When you cry out of pain, sorrow, the tears come within here. Ramakrishna tells when you cry out of joy, it flows here. See, so much of difference. Have you thought about this tear? We are shedding so much of jugs of tears all through our life, but we never thought about it, isn't it? Now, as I told you, tears of joy will be different from tears of sorrow. Now, there is also so many differences in it. Now, you know the quality of the tears, why it contains all these things, salt? Because it protects our eyes from infections and other things. It's a protective mechanism. Now, there is one more difference. The tears of the male and female are different, it seems. The scientists have found out. This is still surprising. Japanese scientists, after much research, gave its positive aspect of the tears. It can cure diseases. According to psychology, laughter is a cure for many ills, but Japanese scientists proved that. So also tears can cure many mental maladies and also physical diseases. Stuttgart, through many of his research, he found how tears can cure many diseases. We get tears due to sorrow, worry, tension, mental pressure. So it eases out the mental tension when you shed tears. So this mechanism of emotional outburst is only in the human beings. You can see tears shed by animals too. The elephants, the cows, the dogs, sometimes you can see they are shedding tears. But it is not to show out its emotion. Only in the human beings, this capacity to use it as an emotional outburst. But this is only a very ordinary thing which can the tears do. But there is something higher. That's why I took up this subject. And Ramakrishna goes on explaining. I'll come to that afterwards. When we cry, it can put out many toxins outside, according to German scientists. And at the same time, when we suppress tears and don't cry, it may cause running nose, cough, cold, burning sensation of the eyes, head reeling, chest pain, headache, etc. One woman came to Mother Sharda Devi in Jairambati. I think a very close person had died in her family. She was full of sorrow. She came. Mother came to know that there is a death in her house. She was very sorrowful, but she was not crying. You know what Mother told her? Mother, please cry out, do not suppress it. Cry, cry, she told to, because that pent up feeling of sorrow should come out in the form of, otherwise it causes you disease. Mother asked her to cry. So when we separate tears, I told you, all these things can happen. So these are all the so many things of tears. A doctor of USA, James, after much research, tells health improves if we cry now and then. University of New York, psychiatrist William Bryan, he found out by research in America, females outlive males because they watch sorrowful movies and cry much. So by crying, feeling of the mind will get vented. It gets a chance to vent out the feeling, for that to come out, and the longevity increases. So I'm not just telling something, it is all research things which I'm telling. Now let us come to our subject, that is spirituality. Now, have you noticed that tears are contagious also? If you see somebody else crying, you too feel like crying, you too get tears. It is contagious. Now, have you seen for children and women, they use tears also as a weapon. Have you not noticed it? Women and children, they use tears as a weapon too. Now, let us go to what Ramakrishna is telling. The process of shedding tears can help us spiritually. In what ways? In all these ways. What are the ways? See now, please note down the things, how the shedding tears can help you spiritually. I told about the health benefits and so many other things. Infection, to protect the eyes, to keep it moist, so that the eyes, when you are closing the lids and other things, it should not get that burning sensation. So all those things I enumerated. Now I'm going to enumerate so many reasons why by shedding tears you can get the spiritual benefits, and it is not told by some Tom, Dick and Harry, but by the great Avatara Sri Ramakrishna is telling this. First one, tears can wash away dirt and impurities of our mind. First thing Ramakrishna has told. So many other things have been told here. I have just collected the gist of all that 165 times about tears. Secondly, it can bring about God's grace. Tears can bring about God's grace on you. See, by shedding tears you can get the grace of God. I'm not just telling that and that gist of it, but I'm also telling the words of Ramakrishna, how with incidences now. Third, it can give you God's vision and God realization. How did Sri Ramakrishna get God realization? So it can give you God's vision and God realization. Fourth, it can bring you God's favor. You know, God is not partial at all. There is no favoring somebody. But Ramakrishna tells, tears for God. What will happen? It can bring you God's favor. Okay? Fifth, it can, very, very important, note it. Fifth, it can wash away sins of your former births. This is told by all these are told by Ramakrishna. It can wash away sins of your former births. Sixth, it will help in attaining yoga. The fruit of action does not touch that person who shed tears for God. The fruit of action, papa or punya, will not touch that person who sheds tears to God. Now finally, the eighth one, there may be so many other reasons too, but I have collected and found out the gist of all 165 times where in the gospel Ramakrishna has told. Finally, the eighth one is, it will dry up the craving for worldly pleasures. You want to remove your lust, greed, and the Arishadvarga, the enemies of your mind? Ramakrishna tells it can dry up the cravings for worldly pleasures. Now, Let us see why people cry for so the different reasons, isn't it? When one girl, she started crying to God. She got the vision of God and she started crying. Why? Girl crying to God. She told to God, God, I don't want to marry. I'm educated, I'm independent and self-sufficient. I don't need a husband. But my parents are asking me and forcing me to marry. What shall I do? She was crying. Then God replied, my dear child, daughter, you are my finest of creation and undoubtedly you will achieve many great things. But you know, in your life, on anybody's life, something inevitably will not go the way you want, isn't it? Something may go worst also. Sometimes you will fail. Then whom will you blame for all these things? When everything goes wrong, you fail, everything goes awry in your life, you need somebody to blame, isn't it? So God told, when whom will you blame? Will you blame yourself? The girl told, no, I don't want to blame myself. Then very good. That's why you need a husband. Girl now stopped crying. Now it was the turn of the boy to cry. He started crying. Now boy to God, don't cry, my child, my son. But then, what shall I do, God? If the boy is married to the girl just for the blaming, what shall I do? What is my scope? So the Lord replied to the boy, my dear son, but then what will I do? Whom will I blame? God told that child, your scope is very much wider, son. You can blame government, you can blame the education system, you can blame the legal system, you can blame the environment. Slow and fast growth of economy can be blamed. You can blame the politicians, you can blame the bureaucrats, you can blame the infrastructure, you can blame religious beliefs, and even if you want, you can blame me, God too. You can blame God too, everything is done by God. So you have a lot of scope. But be careful, never ever blame your wife. Then you may have to cry again. So now you got a wonderful this thing why we people cry. Now, you know, the greatest comedian and the greatest actor, Charlie Chaplin, he tells his statement, I like to walk and drench in rain. Why? He liked very much to walk in rain, it seems. Because nobody can notice my tears. Nobody can know that I'm crying. So I want to walk in the rain. So now, let me take you one by one. The first one is, it can wash away, Ramakrishna is telling, it can wash away the dirt and impurities of our mind. One devotee asked Ramakrishna, how can I realize God? To which Sri Ramakrishna replied, Master, you see, the Lord is constantly attracting us, like a magnet attracts iron. But the iron cannot come to the magnet if it is covered with dirt and impurity. When the dirt is washed away, the iron is instantly drawn to the magnet. So what is the remedy? Ramakrishna tells, weep for God. And your tears for God will wash away the dirt and impurity of your mind, and automatically your mind will be attracted towards God. So you got the first reason for out of the tears. What is the benefit? Higher benefit, it can wash away the dirt and impurities of your mind. Okay? Second, it can bring you God's grace. Tears shed to God can bring you God's grace. How is that? There was one devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. His name was Teja Chandra. Ramakrishna has given up his body now. He is no more in Samadhi, Mahasamadhi. Now this devotee called Tejachandra, he told this incident to none other than Swami Shardanandaji Maharaj. What is this incident? Now, Ramakrishna not only liked him, Ramakrishna visited his house to Tejachandra's house. Someone had deposited rupees 200 with Tejachandra. 200 rupees in 175 years back. That means it is as good as 200,000 now. Then it was 200 rupees. So 200 rupees means now present is, we may tell 200,000 rands. That was the cost of that. So now he lost it. Somebody had given for safekeeping. So one day he was robbed of that amount by pickpocket in the tram car. Do we have pickpockets here also in South Africa? Yeah. So he was robbed in the tram car. He discovered the loss after some time and suffered a terrible mental agony. He was poor. He couldn't reimburse that. He didn't have much money. So that amount was too big for him. He discovered the loss and he was in great agony. He came to the bank of Ganga and prayed to Sri Ramakrishna with tears and started crying. "Oh Lord, what have you done to me?" Ramakrishna is not in his physical body, you should note that. At that time, he came to the bank of Ganga alone in solitude and started crying to Sri Ramakrishna, "Oh Lord, what have you done to me? I am not rich enough to make up the amount from my pocket." In this manner, when he was weeping to Sri Ramakrishna, crying loudly, piteously, suddenly Sri Ramakrishna appeared in body. He was alone. Ramakrishna appeared before him and said, "Why do you cry so bitterly, my son? What made you to cry so much? Why do you weep so bitterly? Is it for that money? See there, can you see that brick? The money is there under the brick on the bank of Ganga. Go and take it." He immediately ran to that place, removed that brick. He quickly removed the brick and really found there the bundle of banknotes. He narrated this incident to Sharat, that is Swami Shardanandaji Maharaj. He was so thrilled, the direct disciple. Shardanandaji told, "My dear friend, you are so lucky. You get the vision of Sri Ramakrishna even now, but we do not see him. So, how can you see him?" Tears to the Lord. You can have the vision. And who has told this? Ramakrishna. It can bring you God's grace. Tears shed to the Lord can bring you God's grace. What is the third benefit of this thing which we narrated just now? Which we went through just now? Ramakrishna tells it can give you God's vision and God's realization. By shedding tears to God, it can bring you God's vision and God's realization. How? What has Ramakrishna told about this? Has he told something about this? Yes. Now Ramakrishna tells, the Brahmo devotees are asking him, what are the means by which one can see God? To which Sri Ramakrishna replied, can you weep for God with intense longing heart? Men and women shed jugful of tears for the sake of their children, for the sake of their wife. Ramakrishna used to tell Narendra, when I was in Kamarpukur, I saw one farmer. The doctor told him that your wife will not survive. She is having a very bad disease. And that farmer started crying bitterly. And when he came to know the wife will not survive, he fell down unconscious. So, people shed jugful of tears for wife, children, husband, and even for money, for the sake of money, property, name and fame. But who weeps for God? Have you shed even one drop of tear for God? It was a question of Sri Ramakrishna to Narendra. When he asked, why can't I see God? Why can't everybody see God? You cry, you shed tears for so many things. Do you shed even one drop of tear to God? But who weeps for God? So long as the child remains engrossed with its toys. What are the toys given by God to us to make him forget the Lord? Husband, wife, children, car, money, clothes, houses. So many other things are there for you to make forget the Lord. All these toys we keep and forget. So long as child remains engrossed with the toys, the mother, the divine mother, the mother of the universe, God, looks after her cooking and other household duties. She has a lot of work to do. But when the child no longer relishes the toys, it throws away everything, all the toys. I don't want this money and comforts. I want only God alone. He yells for God. Then can the mother withstand the cry of the God? There are so many mothers here, you know. The child, when it is crying, the mother is busy. She gives some toys or some lollipop or some chocolate. And nowadays the present mother give them iPhone and iPad, whatever. Then the mother goes to the work, she is busy. Then again the child will cry. She will give some other things. Again the child will be quiet. But she's now busy cooking and the dal is about to come out of the vessel. The child cries and it doesn't want any toys. Then the mother doesn't even care for that work. She comes running and picks up the child. Similarly, Ramakrishna tells the Lord, who is the universal mother, who is your real mother, can she withstand if you cry for her? Only for her, not for all these comforts. But when the child no longer relishes the toys, it throws them aside and yells for its mother. Then the mother takes the rice pot down from the hearth, runs in haste, and takes the child in her arms. So if you cry to the Lord, it can bring you God vision and God realization. Okay, fourth thing which Ramakrishna has told, it can bring you God's favor. How can God be favorable or partial to somebody? Yes, it can bring you God's favor. How? What has Ramakrishna told about it? Please tell quickly. We want to know about it. Yes. You know Taraknath Ghoshal? Swami Shivanandaji, you can see the photo is there. His pre-monastic name was Taraknath Ghoshal. He was also called by Swami Vivekananda as Mahapurush Maharaj. You know, Revered Ranganathanandaji Maharaj's guru was Mahapurush Maharaj. So many disciples. So now, Ramakrishna is telling, when Narendra questioned, Sir, have you seen God? The master said, Yes, I have seen God. I have seen him more tangibly than I see you. I have talked to him more intimately than I am talking to you. Continuing, Sri Ramakrishna said, But my child, who wants to see God? People shed jugs of tears for money, wife and children, but if they would weep for God for only one day, they would surely see him. Can you imagine? This is possible in this Kali Yuga. This is the lenience the Lord has given. Just one day for God, you can see God. Then he is giving the example. Taraknath Ghoshal Mahapurush, at that time his name was Taraknath Ghoshal. He was a youth. Had felt from his boyhood the noble desire to realize God. Ramakrishna is telling Keshab and the Brahmo Samaj had attracted him but proved inadequate. In 1882, he first met Sri Ramakrishna at Ramachandra's Datta's house and was astonished to hear Ramakrishna talk about Samadhi, a subject which always fascinated Taraknath Goshal's mind. And that evening, he actually saw a manifestation of that superconscious state in Sri Ramakrishna. Tarak Ghoshal became a frequent visitor at Dakshineshwar and received Sri Ramakrishna's grace in abundance. The young boy often felt ecstatic fervor in meditation. He also wept profusely for God while meditating. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, Taraknath Ghoshal, God favors those who can weep for him. Tears shed for God wash away the sins of former birth. Now, I'll quickly take, because already I have taken away a lot of time through the other things which Sri Ramakrishna told about, because I lecture on this tears and Sri Ramakrishna for 2 hours. I have to give it now within 20 minutes or so, or half an hour. Now, it can wash away sins of our former births. Now you saw that Ramakrishna telling, God favors those who can weep for him and shed tears shed for God, wash away the sins of former births. So that point is also over. We are going to the next 6th point. It will help in attaining yoga. Ramakrishna is telling, weep for God with a longing heart. Tears shed for him will wash away the clay. When you have thus freed yourself from impurity, you will be attracted by the magnet that is God. Only then you will attain yoga. So tears shed for God will give you yoga. And what is the final thing? It dries up the craving for worldly pleasure. And another thing is, the fruit of action, karma, does not touch him. When a man, Sri Ramakrishna tells, or woman shed tears in the name of Hari, Kali, or Ramachandra, or any other god, then he has no further need of any rituals and other rites. All actions drop away of themselves. The fruit of action does not touch him. No karma can touch him. Now, it dries up the craving for worldly pleasures. Trailokya is asking Ramakrishna, what is the way to dry up the craving for worldly pleasures? Sri Ramakrishna is telling, pray to the Divine Mother with a longing heart. Her vision, when you cry, pray to her, her vision dries up all craving for world and completely destroys all attachment to lust and gold, greed. It happens instantly if you think of the Divine Mother as your own mother. She is by no means a godmother. She is your own mother. With a yearning heart, persist in your demand on her. The child holds to the skirt of its mother and begs a penny for her to buy a kite or an ice candy. Perhaps the mother is gossiping with a friend. At first she refuses to give the penny and says to the child, no, you can't have it. Your daddy has asked me not to give you money. When he comes home, I'll ask him about it. You will get into trouble if you play with the kite. The child begins to cry and will not give up his demand. He goes and jumps and pushes the mother. Then the mother says to her friends, excuse me a moment, let me pacify this child. Immediately she unlocks the cash box with a click and throws the child a penny. Now Ramakrishna gives you the secret. He tells, you too must force your demand on the Divine Mother, God. She will come to you without fail. I once said the same thing to some of the Sikhs. So can you notice how many great things are there you can get by tears? So finally, so many beautiful things we got from shedding tears to God. All those things we learnt. So from sublime, let me come to the ridiculous and end. You know, I have seen here in South Africa, people having some speciality in the mouth. There was one guy was in the house. The thieves came, you know, a lot of crime, burglary and everything. So they came, they started stealing everything in the house. But this person, the South African, is covering his mouth and keeping mum. They took away the TV, everything they stole. Then afterwards, the son and other people, the other children who were there, they came running. They asked, Father, we were so nearby. When the thief was stealing everything, why didn't you open your mouth and shout and call us? Why are you simply shedding tears? No, I was crying and shedding tears. I didn't open my mouth because I have a golden tooth. They may steal that also. The South Africans put the golden this thing in front of her. If there's a space in the tooth, I can see that. The moment they smile, it will be sparkling. Gold will be sparkling. So he didn't want to open his mouth and cry because his golden tooth will go away, they will steal. So you people don't want to cry because you don't want God. You want the worldly things. So Master is told, shed tears for God, can get everything. Thank you. Namaste. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.